John Ruggiero, and this is New Jersey Paranormal. Joining me today, again, is my partner, Chris, and our special guest is the Vice President of the Union Township Historical Society, David Arminio. Thank you for being here.
Hi, David. Glad to be here.
David, the reason you're here today is because we're featuring the Caldwell Parsonage Museum in Union, the town of Union. What drew me to that building as a paranormal investigator was the history of the building and what occurred there in the late 1800s, 1700s. The story of Hannah Caldwell is one that should be a Hollywood movie, in my opinion. Could you tell us what happened at this location?
Well, yeah, Hannah was shot and killed, but there's more to the story than her just being murdered by a British soldier. She was married to Reverend James Caldwell, who was a significant person in New Jersey during the Revolutionary War. The house was originally built in 1730, and it was a two-room structure, and it was the manse for the Connecticut Farms Presbyterian Church. We need to go forward to June 7, 1780. The Hessian and British troops, about 5,000, were coming across from Staten Island. They were going to go up to Morristown to defeat George Washington once and for all. Washington's army was in disarray, and they knew from spies that he could be defeated. As they came across Westfield Avenue and up Galloping Hill Road, they were going to go up through Milburn and through the Gap to Morristown and Washington's headquarters. They were stopped along the way by individuals shooting from behind trees. The militia from Connecticut Farms was stopping them along the way. There was a battle at the Connecticut Farms Church, in front of the church, but the British were just too many and kept pushing the militia back further and further until they got to the Springfield border on Morris Avenue. The British were stopped at that point, and they were ordered to retreat back to Elizabethtown. As they came back, maybe they were ordered to burn and loot, and as they went back, Hannah was in the manse because her house in Elizabeth had been burned down months earlier.
Okay.
And the church in Elizabethtown had been burned when the British attacked Elizabethtown. She knew that the British were coming, and Reverend Caldwell begged her to leave. She said, they won't bother a mother with children here in this house.
Because it wasn't typical to harm.
It was not. She had 2 of her children with her. The other 7 of her total of 9 children were dispersed around the area to different people for safety's sake. She was there with 2 young women who helped her out. She had baby Maria in her arm, and one of her other sons, about 2.5 years old. He was attracted to the gunfire, kept going to the window of the original house, and they kept pulling him away. Finally, she went to the window to pull him away, and at that moment, one of the retreating soldiers, in the coming darkness, thought maybe she was a sniper, stuck the rifle through the window, according to testimony, and shot and killed her. They came in and they were going to loot and burn the house. The 2 young girls asked the British and the Hessians to drag her out, and so they wouldn't burn the body. They did that, and then looted the house, burned it down. Caldwell wasn't around. He had been up with Washington. He was the assistant quartermaster for the militia, and he worked with Washington, friends with Washington, and was with him up watching the burning of Connecticut farms.
So he came back, found out she had been killed, and then James himself.
But her murder was a rallying cry for the people in the area.
Okay.
Many more joined the cause
They
after
picked up arms because of it.
because of her murder.
Wow.
James was killed months later by James Morgan, who was part of the militia and or Continental Army, and he shot and killed Reverend Caldwell when Caldwell was coming across from New York with a woman helping her bring a package across. Whether the James Morgan thought he was a spy or bringing contraband across, who knows? But he was arrested, put on trial, found guilty of murdering Reverend James Caldwell.
But James was a wanted man, right?
James,
he had a thing on
he had
his
a price
head.
on his head.
So it could have been an assassination.
It could have been. Some say he was paid to kill him, but he didn't say anything at his trial. He was hanged at Gallows Hill Road in Westfield and buried in the cemetery there, along with Whitney Houston.
So how long after was the house rebuilt on the same exact location?
Well, the original house was 1730
Right.
and burned down June 7, 1780, and rebuilt 1782 on the same footprint. If you look, the foundation is the same, but it went from a 2-room house to a 4-room house with a loft.
So again, when you're looking for reasons why paranormal activity could exist at a location,
Good instance.
even though the house was burnt down, the land itself may hold on to those memories, to that tragedy, and the spirits may come back because that was the last place they were together, happy as a family.
All of the children, after both were killed, all the children were adopted and dispersed throughout. People were obviously saddened by the events. Caldwell was a very, very popular individual.
And one son got sent to France, right?
Yeah, well, he went John Edward went to France with Lafayette and was raised by him for a number of years.
Now we're going to go through a lot of the evidence that we've captured in the 6 or 7 years of investigating the Caldwell parsonage. Let's start with the first clip.
We're going to kick off with the very first investigation that John did with his John Domatico, one of his first team members. And they actually started off with a K2, which reads EMF, which is just when energy comes through, and it's a short range. It just does like about 4 feet. And John wanted to start off the session finding out if there was the Reverend really there. And this is...
I just want to see if we can make communication with anyone in the Caldwell family.
And this is what he gets.
Is this one of the Caldwell family? Could you make that light up to answer yes? Okay. I mean, I'm not getting anything. It's not a wire. You know?
Yeah.
I'm not getting it from anywhere, not the lights.
No, with the circuit would have been more steady.
So this is one of the members of the Caldwell family? Are you the Reverend James Caldwell? Yeah. Oh, wow.
That was a big one.
I'll ask you again. Are you in fact the Reverend James Caldwell? Is that who's in this room with us? So there again, I asked the question to see if it was a false positive. Are you James? And then I asked again to validate it, and I got another, surge of energy near me to validate that.
We've got to talk about what happened to you when we put a K2 into your hands.
I think it was the first investigation. There were a number of people in the room where Hannah was killed, or near where she was killed. There were 12 people in the room, maybe 8 K2 meters. I had one in my hand, and people were asking questions, and I simply asked, are you James Caldwell? No real response there. But then I asked, do you want us to leave? And it went all the way to the right, and it stayed there for about 2 seconds. And then
You tried to hand it back.
I handed it back to me. But then I asked again, do you want us to leave?
Right.
And it went again, and it stayed there. And I think you said you've never seen that big of a response.
No, I didn't.
And that's when I handed it back, and I said,
And nobody else's alarm went off.
yeah, no one else has even moved a little bit except the one when I asked the question, and I just left.
You did. You left the building.
Yeah,
You were done.
I did. I was done for the night.
So we were getting the initial impression that it might be James that we're speaking to, or he may be trying to communicate with us. So I use another device called the Ovilus. The Ovilus has 2,000 words programmed into it. The theory is that a spirit can manipulate the energy that it reads to pick the word that they want to convey. Let's see that clip. Okay, I'm not going to speak to any members of the Caldwell family, especially Hannah, or maybe someone who was in this building, who liked this building, or is attached to any of these objects. Reverend James Caldwell.
Yeah.
That was his name. So there you go. 2,000 words. Again, what do you think the likelihood that I'm going to get the name Reverend off of that box?
Do you feel like the Reverend's there?
There are many nights when I'm there late and by myself and feel something. Don't know what it is, but then at other times there's nothing.
Right, but don't you feel that's a strange coincidence, though? Wouldn't you say that, here we've already got 2 instances related to a person who lived there at one time?
Well, in this next clip, we use the spare box, which I call the headache box. And it just uses radio frequency for white noise.
The theory is, yes, that spirits can communicate between the white noise and the frequencies.
And John asked how many people are in the room, and the response is very unique and very personal. So we'll take a look at this.
Come on, give me a number. How many people are in this room? Now, we're going to play that clip one more time so you could hear clearly what it's saying, and then we're going to comment on it. So play that clip one more time. Come on, give me a number. How many people are in this room?
That's very unique in itself because I don't use Chris out in public. I don't use Crystal out in public. I use Chris. So that was definitely, I see you.
And the thing is, it's intelligent. So, we should have probably asked more about you and Barbara and people that are in that building all the time, but whatever is responding is responding intelligently to a person there. They're saying their name in the moment, which again is very, very unique. This next clip here is one of my favorites. The SLS camera, they use it on a few different ghost hunting shows. What's called mapping. You could put it in an empty room, and if it sees a person or a figure, it'll map it as a stick figure, and it'll mimic the movements of that person. And we're going to play a very interesting clip that not only shows a figure, but the Ovilus says 2 words that relates to what's going on in the clip. We'll show the clip first. We got it. There it is.
Yeah. Touch my hand. Is it reaching for me?
No.
It's just standing there.
Look at my hand. Try and touch it.
See the hand go out?
It's trying.
Touch my hand. Take me by the hand. I'm not going to hurt you.
Whoa, arms big. Did you hear
Hey,
that?
I don't have big arms.
Did you hear that? How cool is that?
Sure, that's not cool.
That is cool.
Big arms.
The funny thing is, it seems to be the size of a child.
Oh, well, if you're a kid, then yeah, I do have big arms. All right, I'm going to come closer. Is that okay? I'm going to come closer. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to stay... What?
Go ahead.
I'm going to stay low.
I left.
It left?
Mm-hmm.
that was the little mini table with the Bible on it too.
Yes.
And again, some people would say that it's mapping the table itself. If that were true, again, there was an intelligent response on the obelisk saying, arms big, as Tanya is reaching out with her arm. And then that figure, as we continue to film it, she gets closer, it disappears. And again, you made the mention while we were watching the clip, that is the room where, in the area where Hannah was shot and killed.
Right, and she had her
child was in
one
the
of
room.
the children
Good
was
point.
about that age
Oh, really?
in the room with her.
Wow.
Yeah, there were
I
two.
didn't know that.
It was
That's a
baby
good point.
Maria and the son.
So maybe that was him.
You
Well, on
never
this
know.
next one, John actually likes to use the knock effect where something tries to knock back. This is the first location that we ever got this response. It's very rare. So let's take a look at this.
If there's anybody up here, could you make a noise? Could you bang on something like this?
Did somebody just do that? Or does it
Did you just hear that? We're going to show that clip one more time. I specifically put the words knock knock so you could hear the knock.
Because it's very faint.
Let's play that clip again. If there's anybody up here, could you make a noise? Could you bang on something like this?
Did somebody just do that? Or does it
Did you just hear that? Again, now we've got interaction on almost every level now. I knock, something repeats the knock. That's really rare, and that was on the second floor. So we're first floor, second floor, we've got activity going. Here's one that we talked about earlier when we were talking about the children being split up. You mentioned one, France. The box, that what I'm talking about before, the obelisk, kept saying the word France over and over. I didn't know what it meant. Barbara, who's also a member of the Historical Society, kind of filled this in to what relevance it had, and here's the clip.
France. Again, France.
France. What is it about France?
Well, one of the Caldwell children was taken back to France.
Oh, really?
Marquis de Lafayette.
Is that who you're, what was the child's name, do you remember?
Was it John?
John Edward.
Hey, I'm John.
John Edward. How old was he? About
I don't know.
later teens. Okay.
Are you referring to John Edward? Is that why you keep saying France downstairs here? I think it was in the tool shed too. We got a France. Where was he in the pecking order? Do you know? Older, younger,
maybe
middle?
Middle.
Hannah, are you looking for him? You looking for Robert or
John.
John?
John Edward.
Whoa, look at that. You getting this?
Yep. All right, can you step back?
I want to real quick jump into the next clip because it's still, we're in the same thing and we're doing the same, and I want you to watch. There's an anomaly that comes through and it actually makes the REM pod go off and it's still about the same thing. So let's watch it.
John Edward, your son?
He went to France.
Is there something about him that's different than the, we know he was the only one who went to France. Wow, look at that.
Okay. He did come back, but did you miss him while he was gone?
Why
I know, but I mean,
why does she keep acknowledging him?
because maybe she was here. I mean, her spirit was probably here the whole
And
time.
she didn't know where he was.
She didn't know where he
in the
was.
mission?
He was in France, and she was probably missing him. That's her kid. Even though you're dead, doesn't mean it's not your. Yeah.
No.
Okay, Tanya.
Yeah, her spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mother's bond, you know.
And Tanya brings up some great points in that video. And again, Chris mentioned, if you look closely where the arrow was, the anomaly, which most people attribute to bugs or dust, flies right across the room towards the object that lights up and validates what we're talking about. That's pretty impressive when you see, in theory, those balls of lights are spirits. You see it actually move towards the object that lights up. So that was really...
Great combo.
This clip I really like. The EchoVox is an app that uses phonics. I told you about this, just sounds.
Yes.
I'm in the room by myself sitting on the floor, and I actually start out by saying, what happened near the window? Okay? And I'm going to play the clip, and then we're going to talk about it. By the window. Gun? Did somebody shoot you? So again, I've used that box many, many, many times. And you want to watch it again real quick so you could hear the words? Because it actually says, I said, what happened by the window? It repeats, what happened? And then I said, were you shot? And it says, yes. And then there's 3 words, in the house. Let's just play it real quick again. By the window. Gun? Did somebody shoot you? Now that one, again, I didn't notice that when I was sitting listening, but that one gave me chills when I heard it, when I reviewed it, because it says, I said, were you shot? And it said, yes, and then it said, in the house. It never puts words together like that, that app.
I never saw this before,
No.
so it's a little unnerving.
I mean, that,
Shakes you up a little?
gives you chills.
And the next one's going to do the same thing because we talked about the British being the ones that shot her. John was coming up the stairs, and the obelisk says, here's the clip.
British.
Wow, British. Whoa. I
That
saw
was
the look on
clear
your face,
as-
and I saw you shake your head. 2,000 words, David. What are the odds that we're going to get that word in that house? I mean, again, we're putting something together here that really tells the story of what happened here. This next clip here, same area. I'm in the room. I'm just asking questions. A light anomaly flies into the room. You'll see it. And then there's a knock in the room right after you see this anomaly fly in the room. Let's play that clip. I mean to disrespect you or disturb you. This looks like a child's playroom. Any of the Caldwell children still here? Maybe you come up here to play still? Looking for your mom? James, maybe you come up here just to remember what it was like when they used to play up here? Did you hear that?
Who was that? That wasn't you?
That was a knock, right?
That wasn't you?
No, it was right over here next to me. So what's interesting is that you and I have discussed this as well. It was a 2-story house when they lived there. I mean, 2-room house when
Right.
they lived there. After the fire, they built it to 2 floors and a loft.
Right.
And the plan was that the children may have...
Probably they would sleep up on the
Right.
in the loft area.
And here we are, we're getting interaction in that area as if there's almost like a feeling of regret or missing, and just telling the story in that area a lot. We've gotten a lot of activity in that area. I mean, what do you sort of attribute to the goings on those levels? I mean,
I don't know what happened in the years after. There may have been people, some of the people who lived there may have slept up there. I don't know.
because there are toys and things up there. I mean,
Yes.
maybe, again, if the children are there, maybe that's where the spirits...
A lot of things are donated also that you have there?
Everything is given to us from different places.
Yeah, so objects could hold energy as well, in theory.
Yeah.
This last clip here, again, sort of brings it all together. And remember British, remember all that we've heard about Hannah, the interaction. That camera that I'm talking to you about, that maps figures. In that same room I was talking about, there's a figure, and then listen to the words at the end, and I want to get your reaction to it. Let's play that clip. Oh, shit.
Right.
Where's my handheld? There's something there. There's something there in the corner. Are you in there? In that bed. There's a child's crib right there in the corner. Child's crib right there in the corner. Right there. Right there is the crib. And right there is whatever it is in the crib. Are you in the crib? Are you in there? I could see you laying in the crib. Tell me your name.
Brought fire.
Oh my God, they burned the house down. Oh my God. It said British when I was coming up the stairs, and now it says brought fire. Oh.
Real quick, you have to explain why your shots were like that.
Well, I'm basically in the house by myself that night. You were supposed to be with me, but something happened, and I'm alone in the dark doing all of this, which, you know, a lot of people don't recommend. But I actually set up that stationary camera, and that figure appeared in the crib. And I'm literally grabbing the stationary camera, trying to get a shot of it to prove what I'm seeing, because you can see from my angle, I can't see anything with my naked eye, but it is mapping something laying in that crib. And then, right after hearing British coming up the steps, what were the words?
Brought fire. And that's when June 7th, 1780 is when the house was burned down during the Battle of Connecticut Farms.
I mean, to put all that together, what do you think of that evidence? I mean, doesn't it tell the story of...
It does. Some of these are new to me, and it's a bit unnerving, as I said. And
shakes your tree a little?
Well,
and I was once very skeptical, but after all these times that you've come and the things that we've seen over the years, it's more and more compelling that there's something there in the house.
Well, we're going to be back there again many more times doing events there. David, I can't thank you enough for being here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and I can't wait to show this to everybody.
Thank you all for watching this episode of New Jersey Paranormal. We'll see you next time.